This is a regular meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court, 19th day of December 2013. It's now 8:30 a.m. As we do all meetings, we will start with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag. I'd like to ask the Commissioners Court to lead us in those two pledges at the appropriate time. Please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Public comment?
Judge and Commissioners, I don't have an application there, but no, I just wanted to inform the court that one of our employees, Victor Gonzalez, he's our party chief surveying crew for the surveying crew, will be retiring at the end of this month. He's been with the county at least 20 years, I believe, and so we've been privileged to have Victor and Chito there as the part of the engineering team, and we want to wish him well in his retirement. He's always been a good, loyal employee. I think it's by his work and ethics, you know, he's made our jobs a lot easier. So we want to wish him well and his retirement, and so that's just some information for the court.
Make sure you get together with us. Maybe we can give him a little token of appreciation, the first meeting of the new year.
He wants to keep it low profile, but I'll see if I can convince him.
Well, and I'd be that, well, you just took that off the table. It's not low profile.
Sure, I understand. I'll let him.
1 million of our viewers are watching this now, so.
So
We'll do that.
he's a young one, right, of the two?
Well, he's the youngest of the two.
Young one of the two.
So we wish him well.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Consent? Any item under consent that any member of the court wish to take up and discuss separately?
One public comment, I want to just say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of y'all. We won't have another meeting till after Christmas, so wishing y'all a happy holiday season.
We might. We don't know yet. Okay.
Well, one that won't be televised probably anyway, for the folks at home.
there's also a supplemental. It's got some a consent item followed by a executive session item. We don't have to discuss the open item after executive on that one, do we? No? Okay. Right. So to hear a motion, or anybody want to take anything out of? Yes, sir?
Just, can you table item 2F and 2V, like Victor? And we need to pull item P and Q.
Okay, hold on. Let's go back. Table which P
F
and
like
Q
Frank.
to take out and discuss.
Yes, sir.
And then the other one, the double what?
V, like Victor?
V as in Victor?
That's the one we had the special meeting for, right?
Yes, sir.
Table V?
Table it, we already
Okay.
We've already done that. Okay.
moved to approve the rest, Judge.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. And that includes the supplemental consent, correct? Got it. If we can go to the items to be discussed separately, item P, consideration and authorization to abolish the current advisory committee for the county's animal shelter. And we can do item Q, we can abolish and approve simultaneously if you want to do that, okay? Item Q, consideration and authorization to appoint a new advisory committee for the county's animal shelter.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Basically, we're passing out some information. We decided to put it back on the agenda to dissolve the committee and also...
Is this the new one or the old one?
No, this is the old one that we're proposing. These are recommendations, but it's still up to the court if they
Okay,
have
wait, hold
something in
on.
mind.
Is this the old one that we're abolishing or
No,
the
sir.
new one to approve?
This is the new one to approve.
Got it, okay.
Okay, and it's a recommendation. The court had asked us to recommend some of those people.
Yeah, okay, let's abolish the old one. So do I hear a motion to abolish the old one?
So moved.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed carries.
on this new one. This is what, you've spoken to everyone with the exception of Mr. Trevino?
We spoke to him also, sir. We were just able to get some information from him lately, but we did speak to him. He is interested.
Okay, so we want to, instead of pending, we just put him as,
Right. The only reason I have him pending is based on the title and little things
Okay.
here and there. But
You know, I have one concern with the new one, appointing the new one. I visited with the one that, the veterinarian that was on the abolished committee. He had never gotten a call for a meeting in the last 3 years. He had not been advised that there were any issues coming up. He is more than willing to serve. He helped get Port Isabel out of a huge bind when they had, and I don't know if Joe Vega's here, he would probably help us with some of those questions. But I know that in Port Isabel, they had an issue with the city and the people that were running the shelter there. Dr. Robert Kellogg was their advisor there and still is their advisor and oversees that operation. And he was able to transition that shelter from publicly operated by a 501c to the city operated. And, you know, they transitioned well. They're still doing well. They were able to minimally spending money, were able to get it approved by, you know, the state. He oversaw, Dr. Kellogg oversaw the building of that new facility in a very fiscally conservative way that the city was able to absorb. He had not been notified that they were going to abolish the advisory committee. He has attended every meeting that he's been asked to attend, and I don't see why we would be replacing him if, you know, he's always been available, always had and made the time for anything that has come up with, you know.
And Commissioner, the court had asked us to come up with some recommendations, but it's still up to the court.
Well, but I would
If-
figure that, you know, you would have at least called the current members there who might still be interested in serving, but had never been called to a meeting.
let me ask a question
Yes.
another way. Of the members, of the new members that are here, how many were in the old committee?
There was about 5 or 6 of them,
No, but of the ones that we have here, the 4
None.
that you have?
None.
These are all brand-new people?
These are all brand-new people.
Did anybody reach out to the old committee members to see if they'd want to participate or serve
I know we
again?
had difficulty on getting a hold of some of them, sir, and I believe we didn't get a hold of this gentleman on the veterinary.
You want to give them a call? I mean, I don't have a problem, there's only 4 people here.
Yeah, we
Now-
could add them to it. That's
Yeah,
not an
we can
issue.
add, maybe if anybody has any more, add that particular gentleman
Right.
to it. But let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
The purpose of this animal shelter committee is going to be to do what?
Okay. The purpose of the advisory committee is required by law to be sure that the animal shelter is meeting the state requirements of Chapter 826 and 823. And there are certain requirements that we have to be meeting. And that's why this is basically up to the court we bring you a recommendation, but these people, we recommended them because I know the animal control supervisor has worked with some of these people at the city of Brownsville and with some of this vet that we have here, but we'll be gladly to add the other
Well,
veterinarian.
at a minimum, I think you.
Reach out.
If we've already committed to these folks that are here and they're willing to participate, I would reach out to the old committee. There's nothing, does it have to be a certain number on the committee?
The minimum is 4.
Okay, and that's what we have right now.
Right.
So we could potentially add a few more if you get a hold of them.
Right.
And then bring them back to us. But are they gonna have input into the construction of the new facility, the location, or what is this advisory committee gonna advise on?
The committee, basically, sir, it's to provide, basically, they kind of oversee 826, and basically, there's certain laws that tells you, okay, you can only have male and female dogs in separate cages, certain sizes, a lot of the requirements of the shelter.
But does the
So
shelter that we have now meet the state requirements?
We've been meeting the state requirements. We've been lately, in the past couple of months, we've been actually slowing down the activity of picking up animals because of the capacity that we have at the shelter, because of these rules and requirements. Basically, our shelter comes to capacity very quickly, so we can't overcrowd the animals. Got to be sure that we're meeting all those requirements. You're looking at also processes of handling the animals, the euthanization part, all these things, they will be overseeing it.
How often does this committee meet?
The law requires them to meet 3 times a year.
Okay, every 4 months. Has that been happening?
No.
They haven't called a meeting, though,
Okay.
because, you know, the gentleman that I speak of has had the same phone number for the last 22 years,
Who chairs it?
you know?
Who chairs the committee?
It used to be the program director of environmental health. So
Is a program director a voting member or just the chair?
the program director was part of the members that would put the thing
Okay,
together.
let's do this. I think that we were real gung-ho when it came, not too long ago, about investing in a new animal shelter. There was a lot of discussion early on. We actually, you know, Commissioner Hernandez, you know, reappropriated some money that was going to go into a community center in Olmito to commit to the animal shelter. And then that kind of like died. We started getting the numbers that were going to be in the millions. So we need to figure out if we're going to move forward with it or we're not. I think we should. And I think we need to scale it down and maybe try to work within the budget that we have available, whatever that number is today.
Right.
I know we've been whittling it, doing other projects, and I think we're going to have a presentation regarding some of those projects. But the animal shelters should be built. I mean, it should be built, and I don't know where we are in the acquisition of some of the adjoining property, but we need to get back on that. And this is fine. I'd like to see these members participate maybe in the developing of some kind of a working plan for a new animal shelter.
No, and that's correct. I mean, that's the whole purpose of this. I mean, I believe that they have to have some type of input. And the reason we're trying to figure out, because we're talking about maybe adding even our own staff to the committee, but my recommendation was we don't, because I'd rather have somebody from the outside seeing
Well, when
the
you have
activity.
staff as a numerous members of a committee, they tend to be influenced by other people that they believe they work for, either elected officials or department heads. I would much rather see member. I don't have one person. I don't have a problem with you being on or somebody being on it, one person, but the rest should be members of the general public that, you know, that
Right.
should not be.
And actually,
influenced.
that was my recommendation, because, I mean, if I'm going to be part of the committee, my thing would be kind of just to kind of see what their issues are, to where we could go and fix them or address them or bring them to the court so we could address them.
Okay, well, let's do this.
Judge, but aren't most of our committees comprised of staff?
Well, that's for evaluating proposals. This is something different.
This is a
And
mandated
committees that we've set up are not required by state statute. This is.
This is required by state
Right,
statute.
no, but you're talking about getting influenced by people. I mean, does that what happens with our committees?
No, I didn't say that. When we do committees like that, a lot of that information is privileged information that they look at, so staff is held to a certain standard. If you start bringing members of the public to be on your committees, then some of that information that may be private gets out. So all I'm saying is that if the state requires us to have a committee, and it's got to be, or it should be, members of the outside, then I think we need to pursue that.
And they're real specific about the people that should be on there. A minimum of 4, it has to be a licensed veterinarian.
Right.
County official, somebody that operates an animal shelter, and also a welfare organization, which would be somebody like that is
Right.
out there.
So it doesn't say you can't have 2 veterinarians.
No, it doesn't say
You have to
that.
have at least one.
My concern is that if we had people named to that committee, never called a meeting, never called them for a meeting, and we're kicking them off a committee because they didn't show up when they were never called, I have a concern. I think that we need to go back to that original committee that we just abolished. and
Why don't we
at
just
least
add them?
Reach out.
Why don't we just add, because you've already made some commitments to some of these folks to
Well-
be on the committee, correct?
We didn't make commitments to nobody.
But you asked them.
Basically, we asked them if they would like to be part of this
Right.
committee, that we were going to be recommending to the court. They're willing to commit, and they're volunteers, basically. They want to volunteer their time, and I don't see a problem with that in the other
Well,
vet.
okay, so we could go back and to the members who are in the old committee, even though we've abolished it, we're creating this new one. Reach out to them and ask if they'd like to participate, and if they would, just add them on.
We'll do that.
Because there's no maximum amount that you can have on the committee,
That is correct.
correct? And then when you have 3 or 4, you may have a hard time getting a quorum sometimes if you need to.
Right.
Okay, so can you do that? And
I
then-
know, commissioners, that I think maybe the only one that we were meeting in the past, I mean, that he was probably available, gentlemen, but they were having problems with making quorum.
With others?
Yes, so, I mean, we'll be gladly to go ahead and call
Okay.
the rest of the.
So let's do this then. On this one, do you want to approve it subject to, or you want to table it to the next meeting and then come back with the other names?
It will be up to you.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Table.
We're going to table it, and then reach out to them, and then the ones that say yay, you put them on this committee. And then bring it back to the next
We'll
meeting.
do that.
Okay?
Thank you, appreciate it.
Move to table by Commissioner Gatsa. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Hernandez. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, carries.
Was that for both items?
Yes.
B&Q?
No, we've already abolished the one.
Okay.
Okay, action items, budget amendments, line item transfers, and/or salary schedules.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners.
Good morning.
You had the budget amendment, and they are with Public Works, and then the HIDA grants, they're all basically the HIDA grants except the first one, which is for Public Works, for your approval.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
By Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Hernandez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries.
Warrants number 312, sorry, whenever you're ready.
Claims. Go ahead.
Warrants number 312958 through 313361, number 313366 through 313497. Payroll dated December the 20th for $1,743,705.68. Health claims for $448,293.03. Claims that I just read in, warrants number 312958 through 312994 are the contract payments for the month of December. I don't know what the court wants to do as a release date on those. If you release on December the 27th, that's on a Friday. If you release on December the 30th, that's on a Monday. And New Year's Eve is on the 31st, so that's on a Tuesday.
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation would be to release on December the 27th, which is a Friday. It's 2 days, actually, 2 physical working days before the end of the month.
And we're required to pay this anyway.
Well, you're required to pay it for that month at the end of
Right.
the month, so you're bumping it 2 days because of
Yeah.
the holidays.
I don't have a problem with that.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sanchez.
Was releasing it on the 27th.
Yes,
Okay.
thank
Please
you.
note my abstention on the affidavits I've provided. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Minutes? Minutes ready? Do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Hernandez. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Before we move on to item D, Arnold let me know that on item 2C, if we can go back and just designate a funding source, consideration approval of CAS companies to execute a proposal submitted through the interlocal purchasing system.
There was an issue a few months back, we had an issue with, we had some workers' comp claims come in from the sheriff's department that they were having issues breathing. There was possibly some mold in the building. We originally had a company go out there do an assessment. They did the assessment, they scrubbed the air, they came back with the results. There was some issues in the cold room where we have our IT and the SI room there. This proposal is for the second phase of the job, which is to take down the wall, reconstruct the wall, replace the ceiling tiles, and then also drill holes into the outside, the exterior wall, and take samples of that material to see if there's any mold back there. The issue with the funding source is that when we brought this forward, the sheriff's office, they didn't want to use their M&O budget to cover these expenses. So we didn't have a funding source when we brought that.
Do we have money in the M&O budget to pay for this?
Yes, sir.
That's your funding source?
Well, why would we not use it?
You know,
Well, that's, when I explained to them, that's what we use it for, and their explanation to me was, well, if we run out of that money, what do we do at the end of the year? So, well,
we worry.
No, just-
we
we just come back. I mean, you
We
just-
move money around.
Right.
Yeah, you just
The
come
budget
back.
amendments we just did.
Correct.
same thing.
You just found your funding source?
Do I hear a motion then to authorize a funding source to be the sheriff's M&O
So moved.
Second.
by Commissioner Benavides and by
Aye.
Commissioner Gatsa, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, item carries. Thank you, Arnold. Item D, consideration and possible selection of a vendor from the proposals received for the workers' compensation insurance, RFP 1470. You've got several of them, so you might just stay up there.
Yes, sir. A few months ago, or several months ago, it was made very clear that the Commissioners Court wanted to review proposals for a self-funded and a fully funded workers' compensation plan. The county has done really well over the last 8 to 10 years in minimizing the workers' comp claims that we've paid out. So we were looking for possibly an additional or a different method as to going about with our workers' comp claims. In the RFP process, Mr. Wethy and I, our consultant, we've exchanged several emails, communications over the phone. We've met in person several times. We've had an opportunity to discuss, various issues. We've brought up some interesting issues. We were able to bring in the different vendors that participated in the RFP process. They went through an interview process. The committee set forth by the county was able to exchange a significant dialogue with them, ask some key and important questions, and we went back. Ken and I have worked together also on additional questions even after the fact. We were able to get some additional answers. And moving forward, I think the recommendation coming out of the committee and our consultant is a good move for our county. It's a step in the right direction, and it should be significant savings to the county from what we currently operate with. But there's some integral details of the plan that I'm not the expert, but I will let Ken explain those to you.
Thank you, Arnold. Very good summary. For the record, my name is Ken Wethy. I'm the independent consultant related to employee benefit matters, and you have received the scoring and then also the backup documents for that. Since we have not awarded a contract, the council, Delbia, advises me that we can't get into the specifics of cost, but I'm sure here to answer general questions that you would have on the process. Just big picture, if we did nothing and kept the plan just like it is, on the table would be a renewal from TAC that would be about 30% less than what we're currently at.
How much was that?
30%.
Less?
Less.
With the same deductibles?
Same deductible, no change. They sharpened their pencil. We've been providing the Commissioners Court, and in turn, I've been providing that document for how the workers' comp plan has been going to TAC, and it was open records. And so your local agent, Mr. Montalvo, has brought forth a self-insured proposal that would go full strength into being self-funded, and there would be insurance protection on that, which would be a $500,000 retention. So if any claim were to exceed $500,000, then you'd be protected above $500,000. The proposal from Texas Association of Counties would be at $100,000 deductible, and then they're responsible for the claim in excess of $100,000. So in my evaluation, I compared a high deductible plan with that $100,000 deductible to a full self-insured retention with that $500,000, and then both plans had protection, aggregate protection, which means that for those claims that are accumulating under the $100,000 deductible, there's protection, a $1.5 million aggregate limit. The self-insured retention approach would have protection for those claims under $500,000, but the aggregate cap for it would be $1.7 million. So we had a differential there in risk exposure And your least risk exposure would be continuing with TAC, 100,000 deductible, which will give you a cash flow advantage. You'll be holding the money similar to how you hold the money on the health plan. You'll only pay as claims are presented to you, and then if a claim should go above 100,000, then TAC takes over, and you won't get any billing for those claims over 100,000. Because it's fully insured, those claims are the responsibility of TAC. If you should decide to go full self-funded and use a different vendor at a later time, TAC is responsible for those claims, for the lifetime of those claims. Now, they would continue to bill you if you left them for the claims under 100, but above 100, no billing to you. So this is kind of a middle ground from a full self-insured approach. It's one where you minimize your exposure at the 100,000, and I think it's a nice quote that we have.
So TAC came to the table.
Pardon?
TAC came to the table.
Yes.
With a good proposal.
Yes, I felt, for the interview meeting, we structured it that bring forth your best and final offer. So the self-insured approach through the Metabo agency, they were allowed to do that, and then TAC was allowed to do that, and they did reduce the price.
So it was bring forth your best, but it wasn't apples to apples. It was
No.
apples, pears?
Yeah, it was the best we could do with the hand we were dealt, and we only received one complete self-insured proposal, and that was through the Metabo agency.
And that's what I was looking at here. You've got a lot of incomplete proposals, only one complete proposal.
Only one, and the proposal from TAC was not complete for a self-insured. Their board has not authorized them to get into full self-insured. They may do it later, but it's not there today.
We want to take the risk.
Have you analyzed our claims over maybe the past 10, 15 years?
Oh, yeah.
To look at on life medical, what those costs have been beyond the first couple years?
Yeah, if we go to page 13, I've tried to do this. Well, we could go to 13 and 15. Let's go to 15. 15, page 15. You've been with Texas Association of Counties for 40 years. And what this tells you, and you're picking up on a very important point, Commissioner Sanchez, is the responsibility for a claim for the lifetime of that individual. And we have, if you look at page 15, we have one claim for the year 1991 that's still open. And though it was brought to my attention that that very claim in 1991, there was a knee injury, and it was recurrent, and it was brought back for, the individual went back for treatment on that knee injury, but because TAC had the records to support it, the provider did not submit the claim within the time period. I think it's 30 days, and so they denied that claim. So it's this lifetime medical is very important distinction between our group health plan. Our group health plan, we're out of it in 1 year. That's the max. But this thing can go on for the lifetime of each individual that presented a claim during that initial plan year. If you go to...
And what you're saying is with the TAC plan, anything over 100,000, we never have to worry about.
Never have to worry about it. Never.
And look at those numbers.
If you go to page 14, TAC provided us, and we've got an advantage to being able to make this decision. Do we want to self-fund or what do we want to do? Because they have the records for 40 years with you. And so when they came to the best and final meeting, they presented what was called a claim development report. I call it a lag study report, and I've summarized it here. But what it is, it's a triangle, and it shows here's the accident year, and here's the plan year, and then shows your claims that are being presented. So this is showing you for roughly 22 years how claims are developed from the initial year to the final year. So if I go up there to my 21.75, my 22-year period, I got one claim, and during that initial year, what was presented for payment was only $63,000. But after 22 years, it had matured into $532,000. So that, I call it a development factor, was 8.49. So what you got in the beginning year could be 9 times, 8.5 times that, the final year.
And it's still going.
Pardon?
And it's still going.
Still growing, yeah, because we got a reserve, You got an open claim. So this is a different animal. You do have to have reserves. And when I was asked a question later, I was bringing you these reports showing you that here's what you're paying in premium, and this is what your claims are. And we had a gap of about 50% because I wasn't throwing in claim expenses and I wasn't showing you reserves. Well, what has been presented, whether it's the 100,000 deductible or whether it be the self-insured retention approach, the retention is about 30%. And then that leaves 20% to build reserve, to hold your reserves. So if you were to go the 100,000 deductible, my recommendation would be hold your rates as they are. You've already adopted your budget for October 1. Hold the rates as they are. See how the fund is developing, and then like you do with your health fund, determine how you want to fund it for the next year. But make sure you're allowing for reserves, building the reserves for the lifetime medical claims.
And with this plan, what are we looking at in terms of for the year?
How you're,
Our reserves.
well, you're going to start out fresh, and so you'll have, gee whiz, start out with 700,000 in reserves.
And comparing that to last year and the year before?
Well, no, you're going to be paying claims out of that.
Right, no, I understand, but if you look at claims paid in the last couple of years, how has it gone?
Well, I think you need a reserve factor of 20% at least. Yeah. You know, when TAC is responsible for everything that's happened up to now. So you're going to start out a clean slate, and then you're going to come and you're going to look at their renewal for the coming year, or maybe decide to go fully self-insured. But you will look at it, and you will just have a small amount of claims that have been paid. If it runs anything like what we had last year, you'll have maybe $175,000 worth of claims. And your reserve probably, maybe put 20% of that initial $1 million, $200,000 set aside for reserves to cover you. And then keep working year by year to be building your reserves. And an actuary can do a better job on this than I can. I think it's a neat opportunity.
And that's your recommendation?
My recommendation.
Makes sense.
If insurance makes sense, that makes sense to me.
Say it again, please.
If insurance makes sense, this makes sense.
Oh, thank you,
You know,
Commissioner Garza.
I mean-
Thank you. Well, you've been, a careful.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In your experience, has a private insurance company ever beat out TAC?
You know, they got 209 counties instead of Texas that they're insuring.
That's not my question.
Yes, well, Hidalgo County.
Okay.
A change from TAC to true.
And the
self-insurance.
reason for that, how does that differ from what we're going through here?
Well.
How was that different?
At that time, this is a new product for
And
TAC.
when we say that time, how long ago was that?
Oh, I don't know. Mr. Matavo?
Okay, between 10 and 15 years ago, okay. Because on the proposal, I just saw that on one of the biggest factor when grading was on the proposed price.
Yeah.
That was everything else was pretty comparable.
Absolutely.
Okay, to both agencies. So would you think that was, when you asked them for their best and final, TAC won over based on price?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this is
clearly.
a price thing?
Yeah.
Everything else, qualifications, pretty much
Oh, yeah,
was pretty
and the
comparable?
service, you know, I scored it higher for your Montalvo agency because they're local.
Right. Well, I added, I mean, even if you give them 100% on the price, they still were just a little bit short on some other stuff.
Yeah, because in my judgment, and with the committee, we felt that this was meeting the objectives, what the county was trying to get to. You're going to get cash flow, but you're going to have safety as well.
So if I'm hearing right, then 10 or 15 years ago, when another county went with the other agency,
Yes.
okay, it was a better deal back then.
Absolutely.
Well, don't they renew, periodically?
Yes.
Okay, so then every year subsequent to the 10 or 15 years ago, TAC has been beat out, for the lack of a better phrase?
I'm not sure how they do the bidding process, and
Yeah,
Mr. Matavo,
please.
maybe you can
I'm
speak to
just
that.
curious.
Come on, please come up to the front.
For the record, Ramon Montalvo Insurance Agency.
Good morning.
I'm the agent that gave you the self-insured proposal. To answer your question, Judge,
Excuse me, and
oh,
can he speak if we haven't awarded these?
yeah, I was just going to answer his.
Okay, I just want to make sure
We're
we're
good.
following the
We
rules.
want to protect him.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Okay.
Judge, in answer to your question, the county went self-insured 10, 15 years ago, and ever since then, they just worked out fabulously for them. So basically, they haven't even considered fully insured. See, as your consultant mentioned, they do not have a self-insured option. So in reality, like Commissioner said, this is not an apples and apples comparison,
Right, okay.
just to let you know.
One concern, one of the issues that I heard was that we would have to add 4 or 5 new employees to handle a fully self-insured plan. Is that correct?
You mean a self-insured plan?
Yeah, what you offer.
No, in the city of Edinburgh, in fact, I don't believe they added any. They just rearranged duties. When we helped the city of Edinburgh go from a fully insured to a self-insured. And they also, after 5 years, have been enjoying savings, so.
You can't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Wethy?
Yes.
And I just asked that because, and I know TAC is here, but, they're generally the big elephant in the room when it comes to insurance. I'm just wondering, does anybody ever really able to, to compete with them on this type of
At the
scale?
end of the day is how much risk are we willing to take?
How much risk and how much we're willing to pay?
I mean,
That's it.
and I don't want to take.
Yeah, TAC has taken a different direction with this 100,000 deductible. It was not, their first client with a 100,000 deductible is Taylor County, which is smaller than TAC. And I think it was a toe step for.
I mean, smaller than us.
Oh, it's smaller than Cameron County.
Right.
We
You said
did the
TAC.
reference check, and
Right.
they're pleased with it. But my point is, it was just introduced January 1, 2013. This is a new product for them. Now, when I worked with TML and I worked with TASB, they are part of this alliance network. In fact, those entities, government entities, got together and formed this network, the alliance network. TASB at Los Fresnos has this high deductible plan. BPUB over the electric company, they have this high deductible through TML. And TAC has been slow to do it. And so I think it's a new product for them. And what we have to be careful of is that they price it right. And we don't want them lowballing us and coming in next year and raising the price on us. If that were to occur, then we're into the, maybe we should be going full self-insured.
Well, and I guess that's why I had the question about apples and pears, because what does the RFP ask for? Workers' comp in general, or is there a specific?
Well, we allow, for the fully insured, we asked for no deductible, and then a 100,000 deductible, and a 200 and 300 deductible. The proposal submitted by Mr. Montalvo through Texas Political Subdivision was only for no deductible. They did not offer the deductible options. So we had one proposal for self-insured. And what I have done in my evaluation is I have compared a fully insured with a 100,000 deductible to a true self-insured. And in my judgment, we come out with a cost advantage and good protection with the 100,000 deductible.
Any further discussion? So your recommendation is?
Award the contract to Texas Association of Counties, $100,000 deductible with a $1.5 million aggregate attachment point.
Okay. All right. That's a recommendation. Do I hear a motion to accept his recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Sanchez. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Mr. Wethy, I will ask you, monitor this, because I know we have renewals.
Yes.
And if there is a change next year, we need to be on top of it.
Yeah, and really, if, for the record, I feel that TAC should give us minimum 60 days notice of what that renewal would look
Well,
like.
can we write that into the contract?
Well, TAC is here.
Yep,
Okay,
I get a heads up, that's what we want, 60-day notice for renewal. Yeah.
all right.
Good.
Mike, you've been standing there for a while, or Arnold, any added discussion or any commentary? Mike?
I believe everything's already been said.
Okay, all right. All in favor? Okay, we've already done that. Item E, consideration and possible approval of agreement with the selected vendor for workers' compensation insurance. That's just approving the agreement. Do I hear a motion? By Commissioner Gatsa?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item F, consideration and discussion pertaining to proposed amendment of the Cameron County Health Benefit Plan.
I'll also let Mr. Wethy going to explain this to you.
For the record, my name is Ken Wethy, independent consultant for employee benefits. This is, will be an amendment to the contract, health benefit plan contract, to remove the provision for extension of coverage for a dependent child after attainment of age 26. Currently, the contract allows a handicapped child, disabled child, to continue after they've reached majority age. With the Affordable Care Act, employees now have, or that dependent child now has a choice of going under the exchange or COBRA, but it's something that is not needed with the advent of the Affordable Care Act. So that's my recommendation, and then it would come back to the Commissioner's Court as a draft of the benefit booklet with some other housekeeping changes associated with the Affordable Care Act.
Do I hear a motion then?
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa.
Little bit of discussion. So
Discussion.
because of the Affordable Care Act, we don't need that language anymore.
Exactly.
And that's why we're getting rid of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Compliant.
Any further discussion?
This is a discussion item, it's not the action item's G.
Discussion?
Same
and-
thing.
And discussion pertaining to, well, let me have a motion to acknowledge then on that one. Okay, being moved by Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Gatsa, in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Item G, consideration approval of amendment for deletion of provisions that extends coverage of a disabled dependent child after the age of 25 to be effective January 1st, 2014.
So move.
By Commissioner Sanchez, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item H, consideration and award of a contract for renewal of workers' compensation insurance with TAC.
If the court wants to consider renewing the current contract that we have with TAC, with the increase, I think with the decrease in premium, I believe the fully funded?
Yeah, this item would be tabled because we took
we don't
action.
Right.
This
Motion
was
to table.
a fallback position in the event.
That the other
we wanted
fell
to
apart.
table it, Then we still had to have coverage for workers' comp.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Gatsa to table. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item carries. Item I, consideration and authorization of a public notice to hold a public hearing on the creation of a county energy transportation reinvestment zone.
Morning, Judge Commissioners. This is just an item to authorize the public notice. We will publish the notice tomorrow in tomorrow's paper.
Do I hear a motion to authorize by Commissioner Hernandez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gatsa? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, item carries. Item J, consideration and possible acceptance of donation of land located at Burmar Section, Lot 113, Burmar Section, Lot 116 on South Padre Island.
Judge Commissioners, our right-of-way department received a request from two individuals on donation of property that is in the Laguna Madre area. From what we can tell, most of this area is in wetlands or is in right along the water. Really don't see what we can do with this property, so
Why would we take it?
yeah, I mean, we put it on for your consideration, and my recommendation would be that we just deny it.
Okay, do I hear a motion to deny?
I have a question.
Yes,
Question.
ma'am.
If we were to accept it, could we later use that for mitigation purposes? If we were to accept it?
I am not sure. We would probably have to get somebody to look at it and tell us if that could be done or not. We probably could, I mean, there's a chance that we could,
If they're wetlands.
yeah, but I'm not too
What is the
certain.
rationale for denying it? Just to keep it on the rolls?
Keep it on the.
That's what I would think. What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
Now, I think
I mean, we can do some further research and.
Why don't we table it so you
Yeah.
can do some research?
Can it be used for mitigation purposes in the future?
And I think that was the question, and I'm not sure at this point. if
Okay,
it
do I
can.
hear a motion to table?
So moved.
By
Second.
Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, carries. Item K, travel policy amendment.
Judge, Commissioners, talking to the auditor's office and looking at the travel policy, there were some recommendations that we wanted to make before you. I think you have the travel policy recommendations in the packet, and we've highlighted the areas that we're looking at. On page 2, the lodging, we are recommending an increase of $25 per night, and then the increase in the 3 cities of $25 to be consistent with the 25 for the other travel in other cities. So that's that's at the bottom of page 2 under lodging. On page 3, item number 10, the time is 4 p.m. In other words, if somebody has a seminar or meeting that's finished by 4 p.m., they should be expected to come back, and an overnight stay should not be necessary.
What if they're over at 5?
They can.
They
They can stay?
right. That's what.
And the
basically-
reasoning for that is, well, I think, wouldn't it depend on where it's at? I mean, if it's in San Antonio, you can make it back.
It
Okay.
says,
San Antonio or south.
San Antonio South. So if you're in Austin, you stay. If you're in San Antonio, you do not.
In Austin, Houston, or Point South, if you're still at your meeting at that time, you can stay. But if it finishes before 1 p.m., which is further down on this, in this paragraph, you should be expected to come back if you don't have any other business.
And then considering weather, if weather's bad, then they can stay.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be also a case-by-case basis, you know, on item 12, recommendation would be to change the language and to put in there that the reimbursement will be based on the current IRS mileage reimbursement rates. So
So that could change annually.
annually, yes, sir.
I know it's changed a couple of times. Okay. And so we're always going to be tied to the IRS rate. Okay.
Further down, we added a short paragraph here because we are having some issues with multiple employees from departments going to travel and requesting reimbursement for mileage or gas, whatever. And so,
Instead of having all 4 people drive, you're saying all ride in one car?
right. So coordination of travel is required when 2, 3, or 4 county employees employed by the same department travel on the same dates with the same itinerary to conduct the same official county business.
But that would apply to everyone, including us.
Everybody.
Now, the only issue with us
Quorum.
is if, the only issue with us, if we have not a walking quorum, we have a rolling quorum. Well, I would consider Commissioner's Court one department, no? Or we're not classified as departments?
Now we have each precinct is its own department?
I'm just asking, so in case somebody said, well, why do you get,
I hope you guys don't ride together as a quorum.
No, we don't. We end up fighting. I mean, just to clarify, that includes, I just want to make sure that we're clear that everyone's treated the same. So, I mean, maybe we all have different schedules, but elected officials with their staff, would that apply to them as well?
Same department?
Yeah?
Same department, okay, just so we're clear. Now, if someone wants to travel on their own, that's fine, but they cover their own costs, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Non-reimbursable.
Non-reimbursable, that's correct. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay, on page 6, the reimbursement for meals, we're increasing that to a total of $36 a day. I don't, what was the total?
Is it still broken up?
25.
25?
McDonald rates.
It's what?
It's increasing to $36 a day.
Well, we need to keep in mind too that the payment for meals should be it's a supplement, it's not meant to cover 3 meals.
Right.
At Ruth Chris. I mean, it's supposed to be a supplement, because if you're home, you're
You're
assume
gonna
that-
eat.
Yeah, that you're, yes.
Your own expense.
Yes, we are. We're gonna eat, you're right. And it's supposed to be a supplement, not with the intent to cover, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay?
Correct.
The
So,
only difference is you can't make your own breakfast. So you got to go to a restaurant or lunch,
Yeah.
And that should be
Well,
enough.
if you stay at Holiday Inn Express, they
so
give
the
you
morning
breakfast.
meal is $8, the noon meal is $11, and the evening meal is $17.
And you bring up a good point, Judge. If someone stays at one of those hotels, are we still reimbursing
That's-
the breakfast?
That's a good point.
Martha?
If you don't like what they serve,
Well, but a lot of these hotels now that,
We're not gonna reimburse. I mean, we're not
or
gonna,
5-star.
right. We're not gonna penalize the individual if they want to go eat a real breakfast.
what about those hotels that offer a breakfast that's not a continental? I mean, you got some pretty
Right.
good breakfasts that go on. I mean,
Some do, it just depends on, and then if you're like a rewards member of the hotel, sometimes they'll give you free breakfast and they have like a full,
yeah.
Well, we have to trust the employees to some extent for stuff like
Right.
that. And in reference to your comment, Judge, that this per diem is intended to be a supplement, It's intended to be your per diem for travel, because true, if you're at home, you're still gonna eat, but you're not gonna have to eat out if you're at home. So this is, you don't have that luxury, shall I say, of eating at home as opposed to eating out when you're on travel. So it's not a supplement. It's intended to cover your meal cost.
Well, how many people
Some
here
extent.
really go home to eat every
Should-
day?
Should we change these numbers, though, for those other cities that are more expensive then?
That's up to the court at this
I
time.
mean-
That's why.
Because you go to DC and you can't eat lunch for under 12 bucks.
Well, most of us don't go to DC like you do, Commissioner.
Well, no, but I'm just saying.
I mean, that's at the table. If you'd like to increase that for the per diem for those particulars where the lodging is also being increased,
Well,
that's,
only based on what you just said, that this is not a supplement, this is an
Correct.
actual.
yeah, correct, that's right.
The other thing is on the hotel, sometimes you can't get a hotel in Austin for these rates.
No.
So,
And we raised it $25, and you're right, sometimes it's difficult, especially when there's conferences going on and everybody from throughout the state is coming in for one particular event, the rates shoot up. So,
And in reference to that, travel for county business does require some coordination and some planning. When travel is being hosted, when a conference is at a particular seminar, there is usually a site hotel, and there's an overflow hotel. And those overflows hotels and the conference hotel are usually at a price in excess of this. And the policy does allow for that conference, for that host hotel fee to be covered. So that is allowable at an increased rate.
well, but I'm just talking about, like, sometimes I'll have a CUC meeting in Austin, and because of whatever's going on in town, you can't get a rate under 225, government or whatever. And it's not a conference that I'm going to that has a set of rooms set aside. It's just, it is what it is. One time I had to stay in San Marcos.
And the departments or the people traveling do have the option of bringing the agenda item back to court, and we will let the court know that the per diem cost is actually in excess of what the policy is, but for some reason they were unable to get, to comply with the policy. So, yeah, they bring
Okay.
it back, and if the court approves it, we will process it. So we will honor that as well.
All right.
It's normally approved ahead of time anyway. We have an approval on it before we go, unless you do a last minute trip. It's already been approved, and the budget, the money's set aside for that, at that rate. So you'll know before you travel whether or not it's gonna be covered.
Right. No, but I'm talking about where you're traveling and because of some conference in town or something going on in the city, like the weekend of the Formula One, I had a meeting in Austin and there was no hotel rooms available. You'd have to book a 5-day stay. So I stayed in San Antonio. But that's the type of thing I'm talking about.
All right, anything else? Well, these are the best guidelines we've got. There's going to be some exceptions, and we have to just use some reasonableness.
On 20, after you have the breakdown of the meals and full day and all that, it says that the county shall not reimburse for alcoholic beverages unless the employee is a peace officer who purchased a beverage as a purchase of evidence in an administrative or criminal case. Do we do that when we're traveling? I mean, does that?
I have not seen that. I mean, I am not aware of that occurrence, and I saw that yesterday, and I'm like,
Why are we
But
putting it
That's in
in?
the current policy.
So the
I don't know why.
deputies,
Do you want me to give you a
if
badge?
they're practicing their field sobriety tests on each other after hours, then they can buy alcohol.
I mean, well, the thing is, what evidence would we have out of the county that would require the purchase of alcoholic beverages on a peace officer?
I couldn't
take it
tell
off.
you, probably better from a law enforcement
you need to
perspective.
I
Just
would
take
say
it off.
take that
Just take it
off.
off. It doesn't make any sense.
And the fact that it is here is, it would be apparent that it has occurred at one time or another. Now,
Can we
when,
take
I
it
don't
off?
know.
Can
I
we
would-
take it off?
I would
That's up
take
to
it
the
off.
court.
Take it off.
Take it off.
If it comes up, then we'll address it at the time, but take it
That
off.
doesn't make sense.
Everybody's gonna want to have their own badge now. All right.
But don't you have to go to training for that?
I
Yeah.
think that's it on our end. unless
All right,
anybody
anything
else-
else? Any commentary?
But I just have a comment to the court. By implementing this travel policy, since at the increased rates, it will probably cause us to go a little bit over the amount that we budgeted. However, I think it is something that does need to be done, and the policy does need to be modified. I don't anticipate any cost overrun to be in excess of probably about maybe $5,000.
Well, we don't, I think it's not our intent to ask that employees travel and subsidize
Correct.
from themselves the travel.
Right.
I mean,
We should
if
cover
were
their-
requiring them, we should cover that.
All
I
right.
agree.
Anything else? Do I hear a motion?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any requirement, Martha, in here, and I didn't read the whole thing, but is there any requirement, sometimes people will rent a car and travel together, or they'll fly and rent a car when they're there? Do we have any guidelines for that in here?
There are guidelines, yes, for if they're flying and they're going to rent a vehicle there, yes, there is a guideline there as well. It's,
Starting on 15, 16, 17. Number 17, a county employee is entitled to reimbursement for the cost of renting a vehicle to attend a conference, training, meeting, seminar that has been approved by Commissioners Court. The reimbursement includes all applicable taxes and mandatory charges.
But I guess what I'm talking about is, let's say there's something in Austin, and 3 people from the same department decide they want to fly to Austin, then they rent a car there to get around.
it's item 15.
The county allows an auto rental only when a considerable distance will be driven from the airport to the conference site. If a rental shall be necessary, one rental will be allowed when a group per department is traveling.
And when they
Bless
are
you.
flying in and and it doesn't meet this criteria, then we do reimburse the shuttle or the taxi fare.
Okay, and I guess, let me clarify my question. 3 people from the department, 2 of them fly, 1 of them wants to drive because they don't want to fly, they're afraid of driving. The ones that want to fly can't fly. They would have to drive according to this new policy. But if they fly, they can all fly together, and this says unless it's far, they have to take cabs.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, all right.
And we do work with departments and to coordinate the travel and to get their arrangements in place. And any special conditions that need to be arranged, we do work with them as well.
Okay.
Any other comments?
With that deletion, I move to approve.
By Commissioner Gatsa?
Second.
By Commissioner Benavides. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Item L, consideration and possible approval to utilize certificate of obligation, Series 2011 proceeds for building renovations improvements.
Judge, Commissioners, last week, we had an item to move some monies from our 2011 bond proceeds. And on Friday, I think I sent a list, a master list of the current status of the bond proceeds. This is what I just passed out is an updated version that excludes roads and parks, right? No, bridges, I'm sorry, roads and bridges. And what we wanted to try to do today is get authorization from the court to move forward. We have a building across the street that we believe we probably should get started on pretty soon.
Which one?
The one that's catty corner to this courthouse.
We have 3 that we received from the district,
Yes,
from the
sir.
school district.
Yes, sir.
There's one right on the corner, then there's one in the middle, and there's one over to the east. There's 3 buildings. What are we gonna do with that middle building? I think whatever we decide to do with that middle building is contingent on what we do here. Unless you all want to start refurbishing the one building which is catty corner to us, which was the old BISD tax office. Is that what your plan is, to do that one building right now?
Right now, for this particular time frame, yes.
Okay, and how
That one building you're talking about, the two-story building is.
That's on the southwest side. No, the southwest side is the building that we're talking about, correct?
Yes.
That we got the middle building that we have to assess,
Yes.
right? And then we have the other one. Okay, with the one that's catty-cornered to us on the southwest side of the building, have you come up with I know you haven't, but how do you intend to come up with an estimate of what's going to take to fix it?
Well, once we hopefully get authorization today, Hondo
You're gonna
is
make
going
an
to work on
assessment.
that. Right.
So we're not going to transfer monies today, per se. Today is going to be just, let's move forward with that particular building and assess
Well,
it.
but we need a funding source.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking, because,
We've had the discussion
Right,
before.
what I-
To be
what
able
I-
to add projects, it's a process. We have to go back and publish.
correct.
Post it.
What about well, it's the same thing that we talked about with the animal shelter. But let's talk about the Lyseca building. I don't see it on here. Is it on here or?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and where are we with that?
We are on hold with that project.
And, okay, we're on hold.
But it's ready. I mean, it's been.
If we have
planned
money
out.
available and we have all the schematics and the plans, can we move forward with that and get that going? Or what's holding us back? Let me ask you that. On the Lyseca.
The bid that came in, we thought was too high.
Okay, well, when it came in, did we go back out again and try to work?
No, we remember we met in
somebody?
your office with the
Right,
architect.
I remember that.
But, I mean, there's no way
Well,
around it.
see, there was one bid that came in, then we had another one, this gentleman, but he couldn't meet the bonding requirements because he does a lot
Right,
of
I
the
mean,
historical.
he said he could do it cheaper, but without insurance and without bonding, so we can't.
How is it that he can do other historical buildings that are owned by different government, agencies?
I don't know.
Different
Okay.
board approves different
Well,
things.
we're either going to do it or we're not, and
I mean, we tried.
we're too far
We
in.
had a quote going by board, then we had a quote bidding it out, and they were pretty close to each other. I don't think we're gonna get a bid.
What if we did the work ourselves?
Well, that included, building maintenance, doing some of that work.
Yeah, but what if we take a more active role and get like a consultant?
Yeah, I
Is it
don't
a
know,
Hondo
I don't know that we
doable
have
project?
the resources to be able to do that in-house. It's a very difficult
Well,
project.
Yeah, but again, if there's a resource individual that does construction work that could be contracted to oversee the work that we are in control of.
The most critical component of that
Consultant?
building that is in disrepair is the roof.
Yeah, but to work on the roof, you might have an issue with the structure. And so that's why we said we need to bid it out. And
Well, let's put it out again. I mean, we're gonna have to do, either that or it's gonna
we
sit
can,
there.
I mean, we're not gonna get any better
Well,
price.
can we do like a construction manager bid type of thing or something?
I don't know that it's big enough to do that. I think you're talking about what we did for Carrizales. I mean,
Or a hybrid of that.
What was the
you
bid
know?
that came in?
I think it was like 150, 175 in that range.
1,000?
Yes,
Okay, well, according to this, don't we have 330,000 left?
yes.
But that includes,
One thing, if you look at this, there's $330,000 there, but the
Right.
Los Fresnos project was almost $300,000 over. You never designated where that was coming from. I mean, it's from the bond proceeds,
proceeds.
but from what project
But what
was it
other
coming from?
line item are we?
Right, so it has to come from somewhere. There's still, I mean, it shows 330, and then for the,
Well, let me ask you this, Javier, how did we go 300 over without having to come back and adjust this?
the contract was approved, it was presented to Commissioners Court that it was over, and then so the question was asked, where was the money coming from? And the court designated bond proceeds.
Bond proceeds.
So the thing is
Wouldn't
that,
we have to make that change though, like you said?
no, because what you approve is a list of projects. And so when you go out for the COs, there's not a specific dollar amount tied to each project. It's a total amount that you're going for, as long as it's a listed project.
And it's
You
listed,
can do
okay.
it. So there may be a project that doesn't get done.
Well, can't we clear that off the books by taking the money from somewhere else?
Right,
That way we
as
have
part of this process, y'all need to decide, okay, at this point, you know, we don't have money for this, or this money came from here, or similar to the jail courtroom addition, it's listed down on the bottom of $29,000, but the actual construction of that courtroom over there at the jail, where is that going to come from? You know, so all of that needs to be cleared up.
And initially, when the contract was awarded for the Los Fresnos Annex building, you know, the idea was that we would be able to sell the existing property, the existing building. That hasn't occurred yet. I'm sure at some point in the future it will, but it's still out there.
Why is the chiller system still 760,000 in the black?
Because it's still chilling.
You haven't spent it? I mean, is there still pending something for that particular?
Right, those were improvements we were gonna do at Carrizales. If y'all remember, we brought a layout for the courtroom.
Well, no, I'm talking about the chiller system.
No, the
Right.
chiller.
Those are complete.
Those are
Yeah,
complete.
Right.
So that money's available to be moved
Well,
around.
we were gonna use it as for improvements at Carrizales for a courtroom.
And it'll still fall within the list because it's Carrizales?
Right, improvements at Carrizales.
Okay, well, why don't we fix this list to show what's been designated and where we have the leftovers so that we kind of have a better idea of where we can pull money from?
I
Well,
mean, we've got 1.894 left at the
That's-
end of the day
that's-
today. So we need to figure out, you know, we know that 500 goes to a particular project, which is the Olmito Community Center.
Because the other is, because you did the splash pads, there was the construction, or it's not complete yet, but designated for the addition to the Brownie Road project.
Well, give us everything on a spreadsheet that
there.
includes
well,
those things.
I think that's what this is. Okay, I think Commissioner Gatsa was going in the right direction. You take the 1.8 million and you start off at the top.
Right.
Now, let's start paying off projects that we have to pay off. For
And
instance-
that are done.
Yeah.
Right, because like the 500,000 that's there, the reason those two are together, because initially there was going to be a community center in Olmito, and so that was considered as part of a park project, as also with the Brownie Road, so those were,
I'm pretty sure.
those are currently being paid from
Yes.
park
From
funds.
two different,
Right, both of those projects. Now, I know that the Olmito Center is not going to happen, and so there was talk about allocating those funds to the animal shelter, but nothing has happened with that. And so,
well, but we don't have an animal shelter on the list, do we?
no.
So we would have to do the whole process
That
of
would have to be-
publicizing.
Correct.
Well, let's do this, like the Los Fresnos Annex. It's built, it's done, we paid for it. Can't we get that off the list and
So
take
where
the
do you want
money?
to take the money from?
Okay, hold on. Look,
Or you
look.
just want to know how much is left?
Look, it's really, it's, if we take the 1.8 million, I think that's what Commissioner Sanchez, you know,
Right.
take the 1.8 million. From that number, you take away the 330,000, the 295,000 overage
Oh,
for
that's
now.
already backed out
It's already out of
Already
there.
backed out.
It's,
in total.
it's in that net number.
The net-
No, because the number's already,
It's in that net number. Yes. That 295 is a reduction to that 1.8
But you don't have to
million.
subtract
you don't have to subtract it, it's already been done.
No, it's already on there.
Right.
Okay, so I guess what we want to see is, we want to see that 295,000 wiped out, okay? So you're saying, where does it go to?
Yeah, where did it come from?
Well, I think for now, it's going to have to, what about either the chiller system,
Right.
or it goes to the streetlight infrastructure improvements?
Or the Olmito.
You know, or, I
Community center.
mean, we have to clean it up at some point. I mean, might as well, we can always come back and rearrange, but for now, give us a clean list, like, okay? if-
Well, I understand what you're saying, but, because it's happened before, I haven't spoken to David about this, but we can do that, but I don't want to be accused, okay, who told you to take it from that
We're
project?
doing it
We're
right
telling
now.
you.
Right, but
We're
you're saying
doing
you
it
just want a
right
clean
now.
list. So
We're
you're
doing
gonna
it right now.
designate it where they're coming from.
If everyone isn't,
Okay.
Commissioners, if everyone is in agreement, we ask him to offset like what you're talking about, Dan, the overage in the Los Fresnos Building Annex. For now, you can take it from the street light infrastructure or the chiller system.
Right.
Take the chiller.
Do we have
We
any
can't,
pending
let's not
projects
do
for the
chiller,
light
let's not do chiller because they need that money for
Okay,
the
well, then,
courtroom.
that's why I gave the option, then for now, take it from the street light improvements. Take it from there, right now, take it from there.
And other than
Judge,
those 27.
Before you do that, do we have any projects ongoing right now that we're going to need some of that money to complete?
Well, all of these projects are ongoing projects, and we just haven't
Well,
funded
and I
yet.
realize that.
Right.
That's why I'm asking if there is one out there pending.
On the street light, it shows 27,000 that was used. Is there anything else pending to come out of there?
No.
Well, let me ask the court this.
Do you want lights in the neighborhood?
I mean, we've had this discussion months back. I mean, because after a rain, we had issues here at Dancy Courthouse.
That's not on here, is it?
No,
Okay.
but the question is there any intention from the court in the near future to issue additional COs to deal with projects like the Dancy Courthouse roof? If there is, then it's a lot easier to include and clean it up during that process. Because to add money right now to projects that are not in the list, we'll have to go through a process that is probably as lengthy as.
I don't think we want to add money to projects not on the list today.
No.
We just want a
We-
clean slate.
We want to clean this up.
We
As
want to
far-
take Los Fresnos off this list and say it's done.
Right.
We paid
The
it.
Odyssey, take
The Odyssey,
off,
that's another one.
you know.
The judicial courthouse improvements, are we done over there? Get that one off the list. That'll free up 136 according to this.
Right.
What you're talking about,
last building.
what you're talking about, Pete, is for another day, but we've kind of briefly talked about, going out for some COs on some stuff, but I want to see what the tax impact is going to be. So we know going into it, hey, if we do this, it's going to impact our tax rate by quarter, half, or whatever it is, the amount of money that we want to issue.
And I don't want to raise
So
taxes.
On Odyssey, where do you want to take it from?
Well, like I said, I think you've got, take it for now, from that street, look, from the street light and infrastructure, you can pay for the Los Fresnos Annex, you can pay for the Odyssey, and I still think you have a little bit left over. Maybe about 50,000 or something.
And there's no current projects that are going to need any of that money on the street lights, right?
Not at this point.
Nothing pending?
There was
Okay.
one small one that we approved, right?
That was the one for Cameron Park, which is done.
It's like $1,000 or something, you know?
It
Okay.
was about $1,000, I think.
Just before we deplete that, let's make sure.
On the streetlight projects, we work on those upon request, case-by-case basis, and we've had some inquiries as to how the process works, but there are no concrete proposals on the table right now.
I think one of the reasons we had that bond issue passed and got the 400,000 because we were anticipating, hopefully expanding the streetlight projects to other parts of Cameron County, like we did with Cameron Park and some of the other areas that you've already done. So that was basically each commissioner had like $100,000 to kind of work for their area.
Correct.
If the commission wants to eliminate that, that's up to this commission.
And
I
just
don't
to-
agree. I think it should stay.
Just to piggyback on that, Commissioners Court is also considering changes to their subdivision rules that will deal with streetlights. So under that proposal, the way I've read the proposed rules, the developer will be responsible for installation of streetlights in a new subdivision.
In the future.
And in existing subdivisions, that's to be determined as to how the installation will occur.
And
Well,
these,
this is how it was gonna occur, okay? If they were willing to take on the responsibility of the
Operation
maintenance
costs.
and operations. Yeah.
On the jail courtroom addition, that 29,000, we can wipe that. Look, if you take the streetlight infrastructure, you can pay off the Los Fresnos Annex, you can pay off the Odyssey, and you can pay off that jail courtroom addition. And that still leaves you a little bit of money. I think that's what you do for the next time and clean up these numbers. You have, we're gonna have to go out on that Lyseca again. If it's 150, 180,000, we have 330 left in there, so we have twice as much.
David, what's the jail courtroom addition? What is that?
That's the project they're working on right now.
Is that the new courtroom? It's only going to be 29,000?
No, that's what's been spent. That's why Pete was saying that 764,000 needs to stay in there.
It is, we haven't touched it.
What's the projected cost on that project? 29,000,
We're looking in the range of 500 to 600,000. That 29 is probably for architectural fees.
just to get started?
Right.
Okay.
Everybody agree with that? Taking off, using the streetlight infrastructure for now, and taking off the Odyssey of 18,000?
We can always go back and add if we.
Well, once we, but I think what we want to do is clean these
Clean it
out,
up.
so there's zero balance, so there's zero negative numbers.
The conversation started with talking about the buildings across the street, and since you have property acquisition, property renovation monies of $370,000, why couldn't part of that money be used to start your process for the two buildings across the street? Could it be done? Is that considered property acquisition or renovations, or is that separate?
Oh, yeah, there's 330 there, right?
For what building?
For Lyseca?
But they're not
No,
listed.
the ones over here across the street. These were acquisitions.
They're not, but, and I don't know if the court has given
Oh,
us.
okay, I got you.
But I don't know if the court has given us direction on what those buildings are gonna be used for. I think
we
that's
have.
the first thing we need to do, because it all depends what the use is gonna be.
Come
I
up
mean,
with
if
the
you tell us
plan.
that one of the buildings is gonna be used for conference rooms.
There was talk about making.
We have probably $50,000-$60,000 from the 2008 bond proceeds, 2005, that the BISD buildings were listed that we can use, but we haven't gotten that direction from the court.
There was talk at one time about possibly using the first one here as a veterans office and the other one for the elections office.
And there were talk about moving JPs, but I would say we need direction from the court so that we can say, okay, this building, this is what we need to do. And- and-
Why don't you come up with a plan based on what our needs are, Pete? Why don't you come up with a plan to propose to the court unless,
Yeah, I would like some input, because I mean, we don't want to spend a lot of effort and then,
What is the consensus of the court on the one building across the street?
That's not on the agenda, sir.
I think one of the big concerns is.
I think we need to put an item on the agenda so we can discuss it.
Okay.
I think it's a valid thing to do.
well, but isn't that building renovations, improvements? I mean, before we decide how we're gonna improve them, we need to know what they're gonna be used for.
And how,
Yeah,
where
but
they-
where
at least
is
that they
that?
can be occupied,
No?
because right now they can't be occupied. Because of the, one had a little bit of a mold problem on one, I remember, and we had an issue across, it's just dirty and needs painting and carpet.
yeah, I mean, we can workshop
Well, aren't these
it, start of the year, and
projects
y'all tell us
Lyseca?
what you want, and, I mean, we can
Okay, well,
go
let's-
from there,
let's-
but- because there is $50,000-$60,000.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's go back and try to wrap this up, and then we can save that for
Motion
another
to
day.
table this item.
No, hold on, we don't have to do that. I think we want to clean it up.
Second.
So we're going to take, okay, before we do that. No, for now, you can clean these negative balances out.
Yeah, but we don't need a motion, we just need to do it.
Well, I know, but I'm gonna ask him to do it this way, okay? That's correct. I'm gonna make a motion to do this. From the $372,899, which is the streetlight infrastructure, you're gonna take money from there to zero out the Odyssey of $18,464. You're gonna take money to zero out the Los Fresnos Annex of $295,607. You're gonna take $29,250 out, which is a jail courtroom addition. That's gonna leave you a balance of $29,578 in the black. You can use that number, at least for now, to wipe out or partly wipe out the overage at the Brownie Park. That's gonna leave a balance of about $30,000 in the red for Brownie Park.
If you take the the overage from the Brownie Park, that's a park project, and the parks
Oh,
pay for that.
okay.
That's
Well, then fine.
designated.
So you don't want to mix that.
Well, I didn't, that was not, I suggested that's not part of my math, but it's okay. If you do the ones I tell you, you've got $29,578 left in the black.
Okay.
In the street
And the
project.
streetlights.
Yeah, it just stays in
So
there.
at least we have something there.
Right. Okay? All right, okay, do I hear a motion? I mean, I make a motion to do that?
I mean, do we reject our motion?
Well, I had a motion and a second.
Okay, I had a motion, is
I'll
second?
reject my table.
Okay, do I have a second to table?
Second.
The table, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Nay?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, now do I hear a motion? I'll make a motion to do this allocation the way, at least this wipes this out.
Can we do it with this item, this agenda item? Can we do that?
Yeah, to consider, approve, utilize COs for building renovations improvements.
Moving it within the same.
All right, but I don't think we need a motion and a second. I think as long as they have direction for
Well, but I
cleaning
think we
this
need to take a vote, because that way there's no confusion from Javier that we didn't do that, so
if-
formally is a vote.
up. If we're gonna take a vote, I think the agenda item has to read for us to do that, because that's not what the item says.
Are we okay doing it like that?
Approval to utilize, I mean, that's what it says.
Yeah.
I think the language they're using, certificate of obligation monies, is enough reference to money for you to move on that.
Okay, all right, I had a motion, a second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries. Item M, consideration action to approve the corrected physical addresses to 2 early voting locations that were approved during the 12/15/13 Commissioners Court meeting.
That's just the address, right?
That's just the address, Chris?
Just the address. I know we added Santa Maria. We have a final address for the Santa Maria one-day early voting location. That's it.
All right, do I hear a
Move to
motion to
approve.
approve by Commissioner Sanchez?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gatz, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, item carried?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey.
I was just advised that we will not need to be discussing, if anybody needs to go regarding SpaceX, those 2 items will not be discussed, they'll be tabled, so if y'all need to scoot, you can scoot. Item N, consideration and possible action to award or reject low-based bid to J.D. Abrams LP, Austin, Texas, for San Jose Ranch Road Project. That's yours, you ready to go?
Judge, Commissioners, Alex is going to be passing out a letter from the contractor. If you recall, this project lacked funding, some funding, in order to cover the low base bid that was submitted by J.D. Abrams, which was in the amount of $2,984,991.45. Since the time of opening of the bids, as you recall, the court had been looking to see, or staff has been looking, or the county has been looking into ways of how we can add additional funds to this project to cover the base bid. Since then, I think, pretty sure that, the court has already approved allocating some funds from the capital improvements project, Old Dallas Road, $1.7 million plus, to the San Jose Ranch Road project. And if you put those 2 together, the approximate balance is around 2.7, a little over 2.7 million. They're still a little short of the 2.9, okay? Since then, Mr. Garcia, the engineers and staff have talked to the contractor, and the contractor is willing to work with the county to reduce the contract amount to bring it back into budget. Basically, how that's going to happen is that, and this is legal, can tell us if we can do that or not, but the letter suggests that the contractor is willing to work with the county to, once award a contract, that there will be a change order issued, a deduct change order issued in the amount to cover, the budgeted amount that we have on balance. And so with that understanding or that contingency, and provided the legal says okay, we would like to award the bid, the low bid, to J.D. Abrams in the full amount, and with the understanding or contingency that once the court awards the contract, that immediately after that we'll release you out a change order, an agreement with the contractor and the county to bring it into budget. And then a purchase order will be issued right after that for the amount of the contract.
Are you talking about awarding a contract knowing that it's over the bid, correct?
Correct.
And we're awarding a contract knowing that we do not have.
Not over the bid. It was the bid.
Well, the bid, I
We
mean,
just don't
but-
have the money.
We
Okay.
just don't have the funding to
All
cover
right,
the
so
bid.
you're asking that we award a contract,
No, today, we're only asking to award the bid.
awarding the bid, even though we do not have the money that satisfies that bid.
That bid.
Correct.
Correct.
And then, so why can't we just come back with the number that we have?
Negotiate it down.
Well, you have to negotiate with the contractor, but you can't do that until you award the contract to them, so you can sit down across the table and work out the change order, which that change order will be a
Okay.
deduct change order.
Because a bid is different from an RFP, and an RFP allows you to negotiate everything
All right,
after
okay.
that. The bid is what the price was set when submitted.
And we will not award the contract until
we
it
can
is
do the change
satisfactory to
order.
this court.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Legal, do you
Change
recommend?
order at the same time, we do, we can have 2 items on that agenda, so it happens right afterwards.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Gatsa, second by Commissioner Hernandez. Discussion.
Legal, you recommend?
Yes, we've been talking with different people, we talked with Mike, and Mike Forbes is okay with this as well. I would do the change order right after, in other words, you do the one agenda item, the very next agenda item would be the change order.
And we wouldn't be circumventing the bid rules.
No, because you're awarding it, this happens, we've done this before where, we've worked with the contractor to be able to come within budget.
Okay.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, carries. Item O, consideration and possible approval of the professional utility rate and energy consulting agreement with Marco Arredondo. Whose is that?
I'll take this. So this is, we went out for RFPs a couple months ago, and Mr. Arredondo is the person that was awarded the.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second by Commissioner Hernandez, and by Commissioner Gatsa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries.
And Mr. Redondo has been doing this for us, right?
Item P, consideration and possible approval of the inmate telephone services agreement with IC Solutions.
Oh, can we table this, please?
Do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
By Commissioner Hernandez, second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Question?
Discussion?
What is the reason for tabling this item?
There's some other issues that have come up. I think we were still waiting to just clarify with the vendor, and so we weren't totally prepared for, to be.
Issues that came up in regards to the emails going back and forth?
Some of those, yes, and I
You
think.
know, I find this situation a little bit timely, I guess is the word I want to use. Because in the whole process of developing the RFQ, in the process of the utilization of the system, in the process of having awarded it all of a sudden, just because this particular company was the highest rated company that was going to be awarded the bid, miraculously, problems start coming up. I mean, it's kind of like, how can you agree to the whole process, utilization of the process, never question anything except when you don't agree with who's getting the bid?
There was one other issue that really is the reason why we're actually tabling it. It has to do with an addendum that was added to the RFP talking about replacing the conduit. And so that is what we are working with right now.
The addendum was added after the fact?
I think so, right, Warren?
I just find it a little bit disconcerting, that we go through this process and then, issues come up that were unheard of previous to the evaluation occurring and the recommendation coming forth.
Right. After the proposals went out, but before the deadline, there was a request from the Sheriff's Department, and Mike Leonard said that there was a new requirement they wanted to add as an addendum, which is they felt that some of these older county detention facilities, 1 and 2 in the old jail especially, there was a need to add new conduit and wiring to improve clarity of the lines for the inmate phones. As far as the jail expansion area, they felt that was okay as is. So that addendum went out based on their request for that addendum. But in speaking with Delby and the vendor, some of the concerns they have is, you now have a vendor, there's some clarity they're gonna need if they embark on that project, such as a lot of the conduits embedded in the walls in the jails. Someone has to start removing or cutting into walls to expose conduits so that they can remove that and the wiring. There's lots of jail standard issues that then come into play because there's actually cutting of walls in jail facilities. So some of that, the vendor has concerns, and they say, certainly if you have exposed conduit, we have no problem removing that and the wiring and replacing it. But when you have embedded conduit in walls,
Higher cost.
structural issues now come into play, as well as the integrity of the jail safety and protection, because walls are being cut. And their issue right now is, do we really have the authority to start cutting walls in a jail facility as an inmate phone vendor? So we're working with legal to try and reach some resolution when it comes to that.
Yeah, and the other issue is we're not really sure that the conduit needs to be replaced. And so, we're trying to figure out a way that they can go and do a complete site survey of the conduit and see if and if, what conduit needs to be replaced and where.
The inmate phone system is one component. And what we went out originally for bids for that on was that product, not renovation of conduits or not,
If the court,
Was the amendment sent out and part of the RFP?
Correct.
after, it was an addendum, it was after the RP was sent out.
Okay, and when they returned their, when they turned in their response, they already knew about it.
Exactly, and they don't question that.
So it should be part of what they knew they were getting into.
They did know they were getting into it. The
So
only
what's-
issues now is in the details, which is who's going to cut the wall, and certainly who's going to. They don't mind replacing conduit, but the conduit they feel needs to be exposed, which is, okay, we're ready, there's your conduit, replace it.
So it wasn't clear in the RFP who was going to do it.
No, and the other issue is, again, they don't even know we don't even know if the conduit needs to be replaced. I mean, talking with this vendor, he says that this is something they've never done before.
They do testing of the actual phone line clarity with computer equipment and devices. They feel that the clarity exists to the level that the conduit isn't an issue. However, this question has been raised by some.
So are they saying they can't do it then?
They feel that they need to come in and do an actual.
They need to do
project
a
review.
site survey to see
Right.
exactly which conduit, if it's not working, where it's not working, and then we can figure it out.
And
But this was not something that we came up with. This was something that the sheriff's office added.
Right, but why can't they do it as part of their agreement?
No, they will. We're just trying to figure out which conduit needs to be replaced, and if it's really something that needs to be replaced in the jail, then it goes further than just going out and doing it, because they won't cut the walls. They're not going to do the actual construction.
But
because-
wouldn't that be part of negotiating whatever the
Well,
contract's going to be?
That's what we're still working on, which
So
is
why
we're
would
not
we
ready.
reject? I mean, I thought we
No,
already
not ready.
awarded
No,
it to
to
them.
table. I've asked to table it.
But the item says action to award or reject, but we had already awarded it, hadn't we?
No, you
on the
need to
wrong
look
one.
at P, item P.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologies.
Approval of the services agreement.
And we don't have an agreement yet.
No, we're still
Right, we're
working on
working
those
through
details
that
out.
and one other issue.
So that's why I'm asking it to be tabled.
Move to table.
We already did
We just need to take the vote, I think.
Yeah, take the vote.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify aye to table.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? It's tabled. Item Q, discussion and possible action on the permanent amendment. Do we talk about this now? After exec? Okay. Item R, consideration of direction to rebid or proceed with evaluation process for automated payment system, tax, county, and district clerk departments. Mike?
Judge, on this item, we're looking for direction from the court. Attached is recommendations from the evaluation committee. We did receive one proposal. We know, in fact, there's more than one firm.
There's a lot of them, aren't they?
Well, this...
Like three or
this-
four?
Only two came forward. There's some that don't actually work this far south, and there's a couple that will allow us to use the cards but not the cash through the kiosk system. So they stepped away, but we do have clearly two firms. We only received proposals from one. At this point, we need direction. Do we proceed with the evaluation of just the one proposal or go back out to try and get more than one proposal for comparisons?
What was the reason that the other two didn't bid? Was there a timing issue? Was there a?
One of the firms, and they made a presentation, I believe, to the court previously, they were working with UPS for a 9 o'clock delivery. The proposals were due at 10. It didn't arrive until 11. We had to reject it because it was late. So clearly, you know, if things would have gone...
You would have had at least two.
We would have had at least two.
And the recommendation of the committees to rebid?
Correct. I would say for the most part.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to rebid. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Sorry, Martha.
More work.
I mean, that was like UPS issue, you know, I mean.
Well, and if we only have one, I mean, I think the people are better served having an option.
At least.
Next will be presentations of 2013 annual report from the City of La Feria's Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone.
Judge Pro Tem and Commissioners, Mr. Lance Elliott is here to represent the city on this presentation.
Commissioner Pro Tem and Commissioners, my name is Lance Elliott. I'm with TIF Services of South Texas. You've seen me before. I make the annual report for the City of La Feria, and I bring you greetings from Sonny Phillips, the city manager who was unable to attend this morning. I'm just going to make a quick statutory presentation, which is the total received from the city for Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 1, City of La Feria Development Program, in 2012 was $26,793.13, and the county made a payment to the zone fund in 2013 in the amount of $7,354.56. Expenditures of $7,828 were paid for the zone's portion of debt service of certificates of obligation in 2011. The Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone for the City of La Feria is working on its second phase of affordable housing for the City of La Feria. In 2011, they completed 80 affordable housing units in a multifamily project, and currently under construction are 76 single-family homes, which will be rented to people to families at 30 to 80% of median family income. And so the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone City of La Feria has resulted in 156 additional housing units in the City of La Feria. And the taxes to be paid on the incremental increase in value for 2013 will be, for the City of La Feria, $39,196.38, and for Cameron County, $10,617.83. The city participates at 100% of its tax rate, and the county participates at 50% of its M&O tax rate. And that is my statutory presentation.
Acknowledge.
So what you're saying is that the City of La Feria is becoming the government subsidized capital of Cameron County?
No. The affordable housing is an issue all over the Rio Grande Valley. It's a particular issue in Cameron County. And so 156 units in a city of 7,000 people is not becoming the tax subsidized capital of the Western world.
Okay, I've seen a lot of projects going up over there, that's why I ask,
Yeah.
compared to other cities.
The city of La Feria is very active. We created a tax increment reinvestment zone in Port Isabel in this last year that I'll be coming to make a presentation in January. And our primary focus in the city of Port Isabel is housing. The number one issue in the area of South San Antonio in the state of Texas is housing.
Move to acknowledge report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moved by Commissioner Gatsa.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sanchez to acknowledge. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carries. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
By Commissioner Benavides, second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, item carried. To discuss the following items. Items A and B regarding SpaceX will not be discussed. We will table that. Item C, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel concerning Benjamin Talianach and Mario Alberto Garcia versus Omar Lucio and others pursuant to Code Section 551.0711A. Item D, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel regarding legal issues pertaining to the permit amendment request from Larry Mark Polsky pursuant to Code Section 551.0712. And then on the supplemental, confer with Commissioners Court Legal Counsel regarding possible issues with possibly suspending tax permits pursuant to Code Section 551.0712.